but I didn't. And I'm the financial advisor. I had seen a secret that all of us need to know about that none of us know about because nobody can make any money on it. Because the thing that most people think about is a whole life insurance policy is a high commission product, which it is. If I was an advisor and I sold a whole life, I make a bunch of commission. But the way these products were built was backwards and upside down. It'd be the equivalent of like, Alex, have you ever walked into a car dealership? You know what a Ford Focus is?
Yeah.
That's
Welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast, where we bring to you the most successful, happy, fulfilled gentlemen from around the world who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their businesses. You will be learning from four-dimensional gentlemen who have cracked the code to the science of having it all. The question is, how can married entrepreneurs with kids become gentlemen, achieve true freedom, and build a successful, happy, and fulfilled life, marriage, and business? This show will give you the answer for that. My name is Alex Ramirez, and I'm your host, and you're welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, Fulfillment Talk podcast. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. Today, I have another incredible guest. We're going to talk about money. I'm very excited for that. And I'm very excited to get to learn from this gentleman, get to connect with him, and get to talk to him. But before I introduce him to you, though, I just want to give a big shout out to all of you who have been leaving comments, reviews, and likes on all the major podcasting platforms, Apple, Google, and Spotify. And to those who have been watching on YouTube as well, thank you very much. You are the reason why we do what we do. And I want to ask you for a favor today. I want to ask you that if you get something out of this interview, a money insight, some type of value, some type of new skill, a revelation, or some type of information or the inspiration to go out and take action, I want to ask you to please share this episode with 10 people. Share it on social media, post the link on your wall, send it to friends. Share this episode with 10 people, since this is how we grow. This is how we're able to share our message and motivate, inspire, and bless other men out there to change their lives and make some progress towards their goals. So today I have, oh wait, man, I messed up the sorry. All right. Today I have Chris Naugle, and he went from pro snowboarder to snowboarded. Can you help me with that one?
Snowboarder.
Snowboarded.
So I was a pro snowboarder.
To money mogul, and Chris has dedicated his life to being America's #1 money mentor with a core belief that success is not built by the resources you have, but about how resourceful you are. And his success and national acclaim have come in large part to what he's learned from firsthand from seeking a better way to build to wealth creation and preservation that he learned growing up. And Chris has built and owned over 19 companies, with his business being featured in Forbes, ABC, House Hunters, and his own TV pilot in 2019. He's currently the founder of The Money School and Money Mentor for the Money Multiplier. His success also includes managing tens of millions of dollars in assets in the financial services and advisory industry, and in real estate transactions. And he's a husband, father, entrepreneur, author, America's #1 money mentor. And I'm excited to have you, man. And thank you for making time. And you are welcome, Chris.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's an honor and a privilege. I'm really glad. Before the podcast started, we spent a couple minutes just talking about your story. It was a very moving story to me, and I loved it, man. So thanks for sharing that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks. I got a little bit nervous right now because my computer started acting out, and it started like moving and glitching. I don't know what happened, but yeah, that's what happened right now. So
that's what they do.
I'm glad, man. I'm also grateful that I got to share my story and have you here. And the first thing that I do with my guests, Chris, is I tell them to walk us through their entrepreneurial journey in 75 seconds or less, man.
Okay. So I grew up a lot like many of your listeners in a broken household, with no money. And my dad also was an alcoholic. And that the one blessing I had is my mother always taught me to dream. So when I was 16 years old, I had a terrible job. I'd been working on farms from 14 on, but at 16, I had a terrible job where I was degraded and treated like crap. And it got me thinking that this isn't what I want. And I came home after I quit that job and I said, Mom, I want to start my own company. So in 1992, I started a company called Fat Clothing Company, PHAT, out of my mom's basement. And that was company number one. And it was solely to create enough money so that I could pursue my professional snowboarding career. That business ended up taking off and creating the next business, which was a store called Fat Man Board Shop. Fat Man Board Shop, was a success and still exists today. I had sold it off in 2010, but that then led to me into many things, creating offshoot companies, and then also entering the Wall Street world, which leads me to where I'm at today, where I've created many companies all around the financial side of things, teaching people what the wealthy do with money that they can mimic and duplicate in their own lives.
Nice. You nailed it, man.
I don't know where that was, but close enough.
Yeah. So let's start at the end. Most people start like in chronological order, right? Like tell me your backstory and then, they go from there. I like to start right now, right? So that people are like, oh, like this is a very successful guy, but I'll never be able to be that way. And then all of a sudden, boom, we go to, your origin story. Oh, never mind. Right. So, man, how many companies are you running right now?
Oh my goodness. I think there's 19 right now. I have a full accounting and bookkeeping team. So I sometimes lose track. And I know that sounds silly, but some of the companies are just holding companies for different real estate. Some of the companies are really just components of our financial businesses, like our private hedge fund. And then we've got another company, which is just a shell company that really does absolutely nothing, but it controls aspects of other companies. It gets complicated, but there's a lot of companies in there. The main company, which is the Money School, which I'm the CEO and founder of, that is the company where we teach people how to become their own bank. And we do it very simply by solving people's money problems. And in solving people's money problems, it's quite simple when we teach them how to be back in control of their money, because throughout our lives and throughout my life and probably yours, everything you've been taught about money for the most part has been a lie.
Damn.
It has been a lie and a trick to teach you and to get you conditioned and habitually giving up control of your money. Every dollar you make, what do? You put it in someone else's bank. And we're proud of that. We call that an asset, which it is. The bank account that you have is an asset, but who's making money in that?
The bank.
Exactly. When you put money in the bank, you're not making hardly anything today. Maybe you're making 1%. That's lucky. Okay. But how much is the bank making? Because you gave up control of your money to the bank, and the bank doesn't just take your money and put it in that vault. There's no money in the vault. Just sorry if that's some tough news for some of you listening, but there's no money in the vault. Your money is sent to work for the bank. Think of that. Your hard-earned money that you traded hours for dollars for. You were taught to put that money in someone else's bank, and then that bank sends your money out to work, and that bank makes a spread on every dollar you put in that bank, and they make no less than 400 to 1,300% more than you do by making your hard-earned dollars go to work. Wall Street does the same thing. We've been conditioned to put money in 401ks and in different accounts where that money is not in our control. It is in the control of either the advisor, like I was a financial advisor for 16 years at a high level. And that's what I did. I controlled people's money. I directed people's money. I helped make them money, but I sometimes wasn't successful during recessionary periods, and I lost them money. But during that whole process, I made money. Wall Street made money. The fees didn't stop just because the recession hit. We've been conditioned to do things with money that we would never, ever, ever do with things that money buys. And that is give up control of them and wait and just leave that money sit for a long period of time. And that's the biggest problem. It's the biggest problem. And it's an easy one to solve.
Damn, man. So if you're listening to this, right, and you've been lied about money, share this episode with 10 people, right? So that they can also, get to know the truth. The other day I was on a podcast of a gentleman who told me that, because I used to ask to people to share with one friend. And he was like, man, don't tell people to share with one friend. Tell them to share with 10. So now, I've started to ask them to share with 10. But yeah, that's some crazy stuff that I didn't know about money. I had an idea of it. I've heard Grant Cardone saying that he spent years of, going and making money and then putting it in the bank. And then what does the bank do? Right? They like get rid of it, right? They start working with the money. So then, like, how do you become your own bank then?
It's very easy. You change one thing. But now I'm going to go back a little bit of the backstory because it's important that you understand and frame up how I arrived at this conclusion and
Okay.
how I found and learned about one of the biggest secrets that the wealthy have known about for hundreds of years. So remember, I said I was a financial advisor, and that started in 2003 when I
Okay.
entered Wall Street. And I did it as just a young buck because I was broken, beat up, and broke because the first recession I ever went through was the dot-com crash, and it took just about everything. And I didn't want to give up my professional snowboarding career, and I didn't want to give up my stores. So I had to find another job, and I landed in Wall Street, of all places for a punk snowboard kid to land. That was my path. Kind of like we were talking in your story. Like sometimes we don't understand why things happen. We don't understand why God and the universe puts the things in front of us, challenges us the way that it does, but it always is for a greater purpose. Our lives and our journeys are already pre-planned. We just got to follow the signs. Well, I wasn't good at following the signs, but I did land in this Wall Street job. And I spent 16 years there. And all the 16 years, I was never once shown what I'm about to tell you. And even if I was, I still wouldn't have believed it. I would have said, no, that's too good to be true. There's no way that exists. Because in my capacity as an advisor, of course, I would have been taught this and I would have been telling my clients. So here's how it happened. I was in my financial career. I was doing very well, making hundreds of thousands. I was one of the top financial advisors at the firm I was at. And I was also a real estate investor. My wife and I had been flipping some houses, and flipping houses requires capital. You need money because, hey, if you don't have the resources, you got to get resourceful. And I met these two wealthy guys, Greg and Mike. Mike had a show on A&E, and that's how we largely got a show on HGTV, was because of Mike's journey and his help. But I'm in Utah at a cheesecake factory downtown Salt Lake City, meeting with Mike. And he was lending me money on a deal, and we're going over the deal. And I just said to him, I was a money guy. I said, Mike, when you lend all this money, where do you lend it from? I had a preconceived notion, oh, you must just have it sitting in a bank or sitting in a self-directed IRA. And he says to me, he looks at me and he says, I lend from my private bank. And I'm like, you dirty dog. I'm like, you got yourself a bank? I'm like, Mike, let's leave Cheesecake Factory. Let's go down to your bank. Come on, show me this bank. And he says, no. It's not a physical bank. He says, it's a banking system that I set up. And I said, tell me more. Like, how do you do this? I've never heard this before. And he says, well, I set up a specially designed and engineered whole life. Now I stopped him. I'm like, whoa. Whole life insurance, like the whole life insurance that we're taught is a terrible place to put our money. He says, precisely, but it's not like the whole life that you buy from the insurance store from your advisor or agent. This is specially designed and engineered. And then he goes on to tell me that the banks, the traditional banks, were the number one purchasers of whole life. Now, I knew banks bought whole life, but I didn't know they were the number one purchasers. And he went on to tell me that banks, the reason they have so many vice presidents is so that the bank has an insurable interest on their employees so they can buy more whole life insurance. I was in such disbelief. Now, remember, I was at this point 14 years into Wall Street. I thought I knew everything.
Yeah.
And, Will Rogers, write this down, folks, grab a pen and paper and write this down. This is an important quote. Will Rogers said this. He said, the biggest problem in America isn't what we don't know. He said, the biggest problem in America is what we think we know that just ain't so. I thought I knew what just wasn't so. And what I thought I knew is that whole life worked one way and one way only, and it was a terrible place to put your money. It was an overpriced life insurance policy. That's all I knew about whole life. And we kind of didn't sell a lot of whole life. We sold around whole life. And he's telling me here that his private bank is built on the chassis of a whole life policy. So obviously I was in disbelief. And I said to him, I said, Mike, it doesn't work that way. I'm an advisor. Whole life doesn't work the way you're describing.
Yeah.
And he leans into me. Now, remember, Mike's got probably tens of millions of dollars. He's a very well-known and powerful real estate investor. He leans into me and he says, so if it doesn't work this way, Chris, how have I been lending you money all these years? I said, touche. I said, Mike, teach me how this works. He said, I can't. You gotta call this guy Brent, who helped me set this up. I said, give me his number. So on the way back to my place where I was staying from that Cheesecake Factory meeting, I called Brent. Now, Brent, I'm a financial advisor, and I just met with Mike. He told me about this thing. I need to set this up. Tell me more. He said, whoa, hold on, because I was hyper. And he says, hold on. He says, have you watched the 90-minute video? I said, 90-minute video, man. Ain't nobody got time for that. 90 minutes? What? I don't have 90 minutes. And he says, well, until you watch the video, we can't talk. You sent me the link. I reluctantly went down on a Sunday afternoon with a big old cup of coffee. Like, this is a little cup. I had a big cup of coffee. And just for those of you listening, I was just holding a cup of coffee. And I sat down and I hit play. And 90 minutes went by like it was 10 or 15 minutes. I had 4 pages of notes. And what I had concluded in this 90-minute video is I had seen the truth. I had seen something never shown to me. I had seen something that the wealthiest families in history, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the J.P. Morgans, the Stanleys, the Walt Disneys, the Ray Krocs, the Doris Christophers, Warren Buffetts, and the Joe Bidens of the world all knew about. But I didn't, and I'm the financial advisor. I had seen a secret that all of us need to know about that none of us know about because nobody can make any money on it. Because the thing that most people think about is a whole life insurance policy is a high commission product, which it is. If I was an advisor and I sold a whole life, I make a bunch of commission. But the way these products were built was backwards and upside down. It'd be the equivalent of, like, Alex, have you ever walked into a car dealership? You know what a Ford Focus is?
Yeah.
That's a sexy car, isn't it? I'm kidding. It's absolutely not a sexy car at all. He's like, dude, no, that's not a sexy car. But I want you to envision you walk into a Ford dealership and you see this Ford Focus base model and you're like, oh man, I got to have that car. Your wife would laugh at you and say, honey, no, like, can't we upgrade a little? And that Ford Focus is designed to get you from point A to point B, get good gas mileage and be an efficient car. But then you're at home.
Sorry for the interruption. If you're an aspiring, established coach, course creator, author, and speaker, I want to extend an invitation to check out my free training on the podcast Cloak Track Framework by clicking on the link in the description of this podcast. On this training, you're going to learn how combining podcasting with a rare concept that very few people know about called the Cloak Track can help you build a multi-million-dollar network of successful people who can become your clients, put you in front of hundreds of your ideal clients with your message, coaching, courses, and books, help you become a best-selling author, get you booked to speak on stages, or even making an extra $237,600 in the next 6 months. Click on the link of the description of this podcast to learn about the 4 simple steps to make this work. Step number 1 is alignment. Aligning who you're trying to be, what you're trying to do, your goals and purpose with building your podcast so that podcasting is a vehicle that helps you achieve your goals. Step number 2 is leveraging the Cloak Track to find an unlimited supply of your ideal podcast guest. Step number 3 is leveraging the Cloak Track to close an interview with anyone, no matter how rich, famous, or out of your league they may seem. And step number 4 is the content machine, which is the key to tapping into other people's audiences. These are the 4 steps to making the podcast Cloak Track Framework work, and I'm not going to hold anything back on this training. So click on the link in the description of this podcast, go and check it out. And once you've done that, if you feel like this would help, we also have a complimentary, free, absolutely free alignment call to get you started and show you exactly how to implement everything. Get access to the training right now, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. Bye-bye.
And follow with me. You're at home and you turn YouTube on and you're watching a rally cost driver named Ken Block drive a Ford Focus rally car 130 miles an hour sideways in full control. And you ask yourself, how can that be? How can Ken Block's Ford Focus go 130 sideways in full control when that Ford Focus I just saw at the Ford dealership, dude, that car couldn't go 0 to 60 on a good day? What's the difference between those 2 cars? Design and engineering. A whole life policy can be designed and engineered to work so that it works more like a banking system than it does a life insurance policy. Now, let me explain this. So now that you know that the wealthiest families in history have used this for hundreds of years, and banks are the number 1 purchasers of this, let me tell you how this works. And this is what I learned. We all work for money. Alex, you have a job, or you're a business owner, and what you do is you go out there and you solve somebody's problem in one capacity or the other. And for that, you trade an hour for dollars. I'm holding a couple $100 bills here. And when you trade hours for dollars, we get this money, and what do we do with it? We put it in someone else's bank because we've been lied to believe that that's what we should do. And when we do that, the cycle repeats. We make next to nothing. They make a 400 to 1300%. So this system of becoming your own bank involves changing one thing. When you make that money that you worked for, instead of putting it in someone else's bank, what you do is you change where that money goes first, and you put it in your banking system, your private bank. And what is your private bank? Especially designed and engineered whole life. Now, why would I do that? Well, first off, let's just play the math game, right? I'm very good at math, and everything to me can be justified by math because it's the one certain. If a traditional bank pays you 1% and inflation right now is 8.3%, how much money did you make? Well, you
Nothing.
lost. No, yeah, exactly. You lost money. So that's the traditional path that people take. But if we just change one thing and we put it into the specially designed and engineered whole life with dividends and interest guaranteed on the interest side, you right now, today, 2022, just for the record, will make roughly 5.2 to 6%, depending on the giant mutually owned insurance company that you create your banking system with. So now, if you still use 8.3%, you're still losing money, but you're losing a lot less because now you're making 6 and you were making 1. So you're better by 5 percentage points. So first off, we're better there, but that's not the reason you would do this. Here's the reason why the wealthy do this and why Mike did this and why all the banks do this. Now, let's just assume, I don't know, how much money do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's take $1,000, right? I got $1,000 right here in my hand, okay? I put $1,000 into that specially designed and engineered whole life. But then all of a sudden, Alex gives me a call and he says, Chris, I got this great real estate deal. It's amazing. I need $1,000 and I'm willing to pay you 12% on your money if you can lend me that $1,000. Now, step number 1, you're whatever, we're just using 12%. That's what I charge for money. So I just put $1,000 into that policy, and that policy is paying me 6% with dividends. Now, let's just hypothetically say that I go to that policy and I take that $1,000 out. And let's say this is immediately in the first 30 days. I put money in immediately in the first 30 days. I now take the $1,000 out and I give it to Alex. Now, the $1,000 that I took out, I didn't take a withdrawal. If you got a bank or an investment account, you typically would take a withdrawal, which means if you started with 1,000, you took 1,000 out, how much are you left with?
Nothing.
0, right? Just making sure you guys are all with me with the math. In the policy, your private bank, when I put 1,000 in and I take 1,000 out, I take a loan. And I take a loan because my $1,000 remains in the account. So even though I have $1,000, I want you to envision in 2 hands, I have $1,000 in each. But $1,000 still is in my policy earning 6%, while this $1,000, which is not my money, it is a loan from the insurance company. I give this to Alex to make 12%. Now, the insurance company, that loan they gave me never needs to be paid back. Now, that sounds too good to be true, right? Well, who gives loans out that never need to be paid back, right? Chris, you're lying. No, I'm not. Because when you take out a whole life insurance policy, the insurance company makes 2 promises to you. Number 1, they promise to pay you a guaranteed interest rate. That is a contractual obligation. And right now, my policies pay 3%. Still way better guaranteed than a bank will ever pay you. So I got a guarantee to get an interest rate. The second guarantee they say to me is someday I'm going to die. And when I die, if I still have this policy, that policy will pay a death benefit out to my family, tax-free. So all the insurance company allows me to do while I'm living, because I don't care about when I die, right? I want to leave a legacy, but like I need to live today. I want to have some fun. I want to change some lives. So I need capital to do that. They loan me part of my death benefit. So they give me an advance of my death benefit while I'm living. They charge me a lower interest rate than what they're paying me. So I'm making 6. They charge me 4. What's my spread? 6 minus 4. What's my spread?
2.
Okay. I'm just doing math here. So I'm making 2%. And I got to use $1,000. Damn, man, that's pretty freaking cool. Who else does that? Banks, every day. Banks make a spread on every single loan they make. They make a spread, which is what they pay you minus the amount they charge somebody else. It's a spread. I'm making a spread. My money's still in the policy, earning uninterrupted compound interest. And if you don't understand compound interest, Albert Einstein describes it perfectly. He said it's the 8th wonder of the world, the most powerful thing in the universe, and those that earn it, or those that understand it, earn it. Those that don't, pay it. Yep, we all know that. So now let's get back. So we're made money one time, which is the spread from what I'm making to what I'm paying. But now we forgot about the other thing. Alex, I gave you $1,000. How much are you paying me?
1,120.
There you go, 12%. So he's now paying me 12% on that $1,000, which was a loan from the insurance company. I take that interest that Alex pays me every month, and instead of putting it in somebody else's bank, because I've gotten smart and now I created my own banking system, I take the interest and I put it back in my bank.
Yeah.
So now I just found a way by changing just one thing to make money twice. And I didn't have to work any harder.
Holy
I didn't
shit,
have to work
man.
any longer.
To make money twice.
I made money twice, but it gets even better because that loan I made you, when I'm putting that money back in my bank, I'm paying down the loan, keeping control of all of my money. Every time I take your interest payment that you paid me and I pay it back and put it into my bank, I'm repaying the loan to the insurance company, which means my spread is getting bigger because I'm paying less interest because the balance is going down, but I still have access and control to all of that money, every penny of that money. Then Alex sells his property and he says, hey, Chris, I finished the deal. Here's your $1,000 back. Now I've got $1,000. Well, what am I going to do with it? Well, of course, I'm going to deposit it in my bank. So now I have $1,000 plus all the interest that Alex paid me, plus I made a spread the entire time. I was in full control of every aspect of what I did. And the spread that I made in my policy, because it's inside of an insurance wrapper called life insurance, is tax-free. This is what I learned. This is what I learned in a 90-minute video that your entire audience and you as well could watch, because this is what I make people do. I say, watch the 90-minute video. It will change your financial future. So you were talking about the 4 pillars to becoming a gentleman that your father talked about. One was financial freedom. You can't reach financial freedom by striving to take excessive risks. Right now, that will always result in money fleeing you. So one thing your audience doesn't know about me is not only, am I very successful and wealthy, that's boring and nonsense, but I am also very astute to wealth and how wealthy people make money. And I know that there's a big difference. There's people that feel rich right now because we've been in the longest bull run in history. So they have a sense of rich. They act rich. They drive fancy cars that they think they can afford, but they really can't. They play the rich card, but rich people are the next poor people. Then there's wealthy, okay? There's wealthy, which is people that we all know, and the families and the people that have tens of millions or billions of dollars. Here's the difference between rich and wealthy. Okay. And there's only one difference. Wealthy individuals or wealthy families know how not to give back money. They know how not to ever give back the wealth that they've made. Rich people, they know how to make money. They figured out the formula to make a bunch of money, but they don't know how to keep it. Using this system as your foundation. This is not an investment that I've just explained. Your banking system is nothing more than the foundation that you put under your house. Your house is going to be built from doing things like lending money to Alex or real estate, or maybe you're a crypto expert or whatever your thing is, whatever you know, like, and understand. That's where you're going to make your wealth. That's where you're going to make a bunch of money. But all that money needs to start somewhere. And you have the decision now, because I just taught you how to do this. Your money can start in a bank account where the bank is always going to be making money on your money and you are not. So you're always going to make money once, or you can change one thing and you can change who is in control of your money, and you can create your own banking system. And then you can do whatever investment you know, like, and understand, which is the third law of wealth: protect your wealth. Mm-hmm. And in protecting your wealth, you should only be investing in things that you know, like, and understand. Or if you don't want to do your own investments because you're like, I'm too busy, like I got to give my money to somebody else, you should invest with people that have knowledge through wisdom. Okay. Wisdom is it's priceless. It's the most powerful thing that you can ever gain. And the only way to get wisdom is your time and failure. So if you want wisdom, unfortunately, I got bad news for you.
Time and failure?
Yep. It's going to take a long time and you're going to fail. Wisdom is created by that. You can't have wisdom without those two things. You can't have wisdom if you haven't put the time into it. And by some accounts and some books, that's 10,000 hours roughly to gain maximum wisdom. And in that 10,000 hours, I promise you one thing: there's not a wealthy individual out there, not a successful person out there that hasn't failed. Yeah. So if you're not willing to put the time in and you're not willing to fail, well, then you'll never be wise. You'll never have wisdom. So you might as well go out and find somebody that has the wisdom and then invest with them in something you know, like, and understand. That is the third law of wealth. There are 6 laws to wealth that have been around since the beginning of time, really, but before Christ. Go back to Babylon. All of you should read a book, and I've got several books I'll give you for free that I've written, but read the book called The Richest Man in Babylon. You'll have to read it twice because it's written in a weird tongue, because it was written before Christ, back in the time of Babylon. And during there, the whole book is a summary of the richest man in Babylon and how he gained his wealth. And it was through principles and laws. Those same laws that applied back then. Because some of you are like, oh, so much has changed. No, the laws are the same. Did they have dollars? No, they had gold. Same difference. It's just money is nothing more than the means of exchange, whether it's dollars that we use today in this country, pesos, which you use in Mexico, or back in the time it was gold. It's just a means of exchange, folks. When you understand how to be in control of your money, you understand the game. And when you understand the game, the world of finance and financial freedom is yours to hold. It's yours to play. It's yours to control and benefit from. The problem is today, and how old are you, Alex? You're 21, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, young folks today, I'm 44, so I'm hardly old, but I'm older and wiser than the younger generation. Young folks today are in a rush. They're in a huge hurry to try to become rich. And I will promise you, if you try to become rich and you try to do it fast, you're violating laws of wealth. And you're also violating the one truth, and that is wealth takes time. Wealth is a marathon. It is not a sprint. Life is also a marathon. It is not a sprint. You cannot sprint through life, and you cannot sprint your way to wealth. There you go. That's the biggest secret I ever learned, Alex, and your audience. There's not one more thing that I could teach you. And I know a lot of things. You want to talk crypto, you want to talk stocks, you want to talk options, you want to talk derivatives, you want to talk futures. I know it all. Maybe not an expert in every one of those, but I could be very smart in all those. You want to talk like economics? I'm definitely one of the better ones out there. But none of that matters if you can't figure out the foundation. You can go out and build a skyscraper, but if you didn't put the proper foundation, your skyscraper is going to fall over. If you build a house and you don't have a strong foundation, your house eventually will crumble. Your finances are exactly the same. You have to engineer and figure out how a proper foundation is built. And I just showed you the foundation. It's called privatized banking. And that process of moving the money from my private bank to Alex in that example of paying, lending the money to you and then recapturing and recycling all the money you paid me, that is called the infinite banking concept. It is infinite in its nature. And a lot of younger folks and a lot of people that I come across have a lot of debt. So before you can build wealth, let me give you one more tip. And then Alex, I'll have you ask, another question because I'm going on a little soapbox here. But in order to build wealth, the very first thing you need to do is you need to have a sound boat without holes. A lot of people that are seeking wealth and riches have holes in their boat. And the holes in their boat come in the form of credit card debt, lines of credit debt, car loans. So before you go out there and start investing money, buying real estate, buying crypto, buying stocks, let's make money the very easiest way possible. Let's pretend a credit card. Do you have any credit cards, Alex?
Yeah.
Do you pay them off every single month, or do you have a little balance on them? Let's be honest.
Yeah, of course. I pay them, I use 30% of them, and then I make sure to pay them before the month ends.
Okay. So you're rare. So most people don't. And I bet you your audience is thinking, oh, well, no, I got a balance on those credit cards. I don't want it. I've been trying to pay it down, but so when you look at your credit cards, Alex, what's the average interest rate that your credit cards would charge if you didn't pay them off every single month?
22%, I guess. Yeah,
22%, right? So 22%. So most of your audience is not like you, Alex. You're very conditioned because you read a lot of books and you do a podcast. You got 116 episodes, I think you said. So you've learned a thing or two. This is how you gain wisdom, through other people's knowledge. So most people have credit cards and they're bleeding 22% on average. So
per month.
That's per year, but it's a lot. 22% annual. Yep. So let's now go back to what I said. Now let's remember, we changed one thing. We changed where our money goes first. We now put it into that specially designed and engineered whole life that we build for clients. And instead of investing it and loaning it to Alex, let's take the easier path to wealth. Let's take the money, and as we save it up, and we now have a little bit of a war chest in our privatized bank, let's look at the lowest balance credit card that you have. Let's just say it's $1,000. Well, I said there was $1,000 in the account, and I have my lowest credit card balance is $1,000, but I'm paying 22% to, and I've been paying $100 every single month trying to pay that thing off. Here's what I would do, and here's what the smartest way to wealth would be. Take the $1,000 from your banking policy. You take the loan from the insurance company. So remember, I got $1,000 in the account. I got $1,000 that I'm then going to pay off that $1,000 credit card. So the credit card's gone. Now you feel good, right? You don't.
That's crazy, man.
Well, hold on. I haven't even got to the good stuff. You just paid off Visa or whatever credit card you have, $1,000. You're happy because you no longer owe $100. But don't stop there. Take one additional step. Every month, you were okay writing your credit card $100 check, and that money left your family forever when you wrote that check. So don't stop writing the check. But what I want you to do is I want you to change the name on the check. Now you're going to write your name. You're going to set up a bill pay every month for $100, which is the same amount you used to give to Visa. Because if you're going to set your own banking system up, you have to treat your money the same way you treated the bank's money. And credit card companies are banks.
Got it.
So if we were okay paying the credit card company $100 a month at 22% interest, here's what we're going to do. We're going to set up a bill pay back to our bank for $100. And we're going to basically every month have $100 go from our, wherever the money comes from, go back into your bank. Now, how many times did you make money? Well, you made money twice.
Yeah.
Oh, actually more. Yeah, you're right. I know where you're going, but we'll just keep it simple. You made money twice. You made money on the spread, what you were earning from the insurance company to what you were paying. And then how much money did you just recapture and recycle by doing that? 22% in denominations of $100 a month. So you just made yourself 22%. You took on zero risk. You didn't work any harder to do that. You didn't work any longer to do that. And you didn't change anything in your life except for the name on the check. And you just made yourself 22%. And now that money starts building up in your banking system. And what you do is you just keep redeploying it to pay off the next credit card, the next credit card. And when all the credit cards are gone, you know what you go to next? The lines of credit. When all the lines of credit are gone, you know where you go next? The car payment. So I have two really nice cars. I have a Maserati, and then my wife has a GLS 550. It's the Mercedes SUV.
Okay.
I own both of those cars, which is a cliche thing. Like, I don't owe a bank those, but I owe my bank, because all I did to buy those cars, I took a loan from my bank. I bought the car, and whatever the car payment
you're paying yourself monthly.
You're damn right I am. Damn right I am. Every month, I write a check to my bank for the exact same amount as my monthly car payment would have been through Maserati finance or Mercedes finance. Nothing changed. I would.
So then you're making money like 4 times. Then
You're right. You're right. And over and over and over. And when you don't have any more debts to pay off and you own and control everything in your environment and your financial world, then you move on to invest in things that you know, like, and understand. Me, I lend money, which is why I use that lending example. So then
I was going to ask that, man.
Yes. So I lend money through a company called Private Money Club, which is a community that I created to lend money.
Holy shit, man. So me and my brother also lend money, right? So we lend you money. And you use that money, and as a collateral, you leave a property, right?
Yeah, first secured.
Huh?
First secured lien, right? That's what the banks do.
Yeah,
they lend money in a first position.
Exactly. So we make the interest, right? And then if you don't pay, well, we stay with your property, right? And so I can use this infinite banking system for lending money to people.
Exactly, because right now when you lend money to people, where's the money starting before you lend it?
From my pocket.
Yeah, from your bank account, right?
Yeah.
Or under your mattress or a safe or wherever, but
or whatever,
it's earning nothing where it starts. If you change where that money starts, you're now making money because you're making a spread. And every single year that goes on in your life, and you're young, you're far ahead of me. I started this, late in life, but every single year, guess what happens to that spread? It goes up. It has to. It's mathematics, because every year your money's compounding uninterrupted. So every year, whatever money was in your policy, the next year it's more, and 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 the next year it's more. It's called compound interest. Albert Einstein.
Because you're not taking money from your money, you're taking money from
your money your money never leaves your account. It just sits there earning and earning and earning. And all you're doing is you're borrowing money from the insurance company at a lower interest rate than what you're earning. So you're always making a spread, but your balance keeps going up. So if the spread was 2% year one, 5 years from now, the spread will be probably 10%. 5 years from there, it might be 15%. 5 years from there, maybe it's 20%. It's just compound interest.
Yeah.
It's mathematics, folks. There's nothing complicated.
How can I get a specially designed and engineer whole life insurance for myself?
Well, first, just like, remember I told you the story of Brent and Mike.
I got to go watch a 90-minute video.
You got to watch a 90-minute video, and it's easy. You just go to my website, chrisnaugle.com. The video pops up. The video doesn't sell you anything. It teaches you what I just explained. Once you watch the 90-minute video, then you set up a call with us, and we will then answer all of your questions. As many questions as you can come up with. We will answer all your questions. And after we answer all your questions, the final question always goes like this. Okay, do you have any more questions? Alex then says, no, I think you've answered all my questions. Great. Well, if there's nothing more, let us know how we can serve you. And then Alex says, whoa. Well, how do I start? That's the final question. You see, we don't sell anything. We wait for our clients to ask us to help them. And when our client asks us to help them, that means that we have demonstrated that we can solve your money problem. And then we will then help you set up your specially designed and engineered whole life that will then solve your problem. We will then get you issued, and then you're making deposit in your bank. And then we actually give you what we call our mapping team, which is the back office for your banking system. Because there's not a bank in the world that only has salespeople out front. No, they issue loans out front, and then they have a team in the back that tracks the interest, the loan repayments, the balances. We give you that back office team, and we don't charge you a penny for it. You'll never write a check to us. So through that whole process, you'll never pay me. You'll never pay my company. The only person you will ever pay is the money that you put into your banking system. Because the beauty is the insurance company pays us. They pay us like crap. But you know what? In my life, what I've stopped doing is chasing big gains or big payouts. I chase nickels and dimes. The insurance company pays me those nickels, and I just collect lots of them. We have 5,000 clients throughout the United States and some clients in Canada. And we just keep adding more and more people, because I found that the number one way to be successful is just solve more people's problems. That's how we do it.
Man, okay. So I'll go watch that 90-minute video. So your website? We have your website. So we'll make sure that anyone else who wants to go watch that 90-minute video, like it's going to be like the link for that is going to be on their, well, wherever where this appears.
Yeah.
So
you just go to chrisnaugle.com. It pops up, and there, everything else is done for you.
Awesome. And, so you have a couple of books for us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So along that, thank you for bringing that up. So I've got 3 books for you. So I've got my original book, which is called Private Money Club, or Private Money Guide. I almost called it Private Money Club. Private Money Guide teaches you all about private money. So Alex, you're lending money. This teaches you the proper way to lend money or borrow money. You can have that book for free. This is my most popular book called Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, which is exactly about the privatized banking. So you can get this book for free.
Incredible.
And then I've got this booklet, which is called Drifting Away from Traditional Car Buying. This little booklet, 63 pages full of graphics and charts. This booklet shows you how to get all the money back for every single car you will ever buy, drive, and own. Just like I do with the Maserati and the Mercedes. This booklet does it. So to get all these books for free, you just go to chrisnaugle.com, and after you watch the 90-minute video, just scroll down 2 more fingers and you'll see books, and then just register. To get the Drifting Away, you just register for a webinar I do every week on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. It's free, but you get the booklet for free. And then the books are free, but you just got to pay the shipping to your door. And that's how you can get them. If you want the ebook, that's all free.
Awesome. Thanks, man. And look, one thing, I have 5 questions that I want to ask that I always ask, to end every interview. But I want to ask another question that doesn't have to do anything with those 5 questions. And that's that, like, wisdom. Wait, I forgot. Oh, yeah. Wisdom, discernment, and amplitude of heart is what I love, is what I ask for every single day, man. Like wisdom, that's all I'm seeking. But you said that, like, the only way you can gain it is through time and failure, which made me scared.
It shouldn't make you scared, because what you're doing is you're taking the fast track through time by having 116 people that hold wisdom in some category, and you're learning because of their failures.
Got it.
I didn't have a chance to really get into how many times I've failed in my life, but it's a lot. And I've been to the top and then the bottom numerous times. So by you escalating yourself through time and failure, I mean, you still will fail because, well, just like you said in your early story when we were talking, like, even though your father laid out the principles to being a gentleman, you failed to follow those principles. You failed to follow that 4-step process that he clearly laid out. And because of that, you failed. No problem. Through failure, you learned, and now you follow those 4 steps. Same thing. So don't be scared of time and failure. You already failed once. You're going to fail more times, but you're going to fail less because you're bringing more wise people on that have the wisdom through their own time and their own failures that you no longer have to do or follow because somebody else did it for you.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah. And man, I'm actually achieving goals that I thought I was going to be achieving in 10 years from now, this year, in 1 year, from starting my podcast, right? Goals like building $1 million company. I'm doing that this year. Goals like speaking in front of hundreds of people at an event. Like my purpose is to motivate, inspire, and bless millions of men, right? Millions of people to become modern gentlemen. And I want to speak on stage. And I've gotten invited to speak on 4 stages in the past 2 months alone. Awesome. Next year, I'm going to be throwing my own events, and I have a network of over 100 successful entrepreneurs that have said yes to come and speak at my event. And all of this has come from this podcast.
Incredible.
Never planned it to be that way, but yeah. So
hard work has awesome rewards.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Hard work works more on you than you work on it.
It's true.
So, man, the first question is, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self if you could?
Yeah, easy. Give more and give sooner.
Give more?
Yep.
Got it. What does that mean, though?
You know, when we're younger and we don't have money and resources, we always start saying, oh, I'll give when I have. I'll give to this charity when I have money. I'll give my time when I have more time, which means you'll never give. Mm-hmm. So my earlier self was somewhat selfish and self-serving. I always did things that benefited me first, and then I would try to then help others. But I would switch that. I would explain to my younger self that it is time to start giving, even though you don't have, so that you build the habit of giving, because giving, and you've heard it before, if you help enough people get what they want, you get what you want. And that comes from giving. So I would instill in my younger self that you have to start giving. I don't care what it is. I don't care how you do it. Give more and give sooner.
Yeah, that's great advice, man. Because when you start giving, you also teach yourself subconsciously that there's more.
100%.
Right? Awesome. The next question is around mindset. So what is a mindset shift that you've had that you think has contributed to your success?
It kind of just what I just said. I remember in 2014, one of the lowest points of my life, I went to a mastermind that I couldn't afford. And the guy that was putting it on, I asked him to give me the best advice he could give. And he put his hand on my shoulder and he leans into me and he says, I'm going to give you the best advice I can give anyone. And he said, give your best stuff away for free. So the mindset shift that translated after that is I started focusing on like helping other people solve their problems. And I put all my heart and soul into that one thing. How do I go out there and help hundreds of thousands or millions of people solve their problems? And then that's what I started doing. And by doing that, all my problems started getting solved as a direct component of me solving their problems. So the mindset shift was stop trying to solve my problems, start trying to solve other people's problems, and focus solely on that without any selfish reason for doing it.
Awesome.
That's why, like I just said, free. You're just like, okay, well, where do you even make money? Okay, well, I make money down the line, but I make sure I never step over nickels and pennies.
Nice, man. I love that. Yeah, that's great. Mindset map. So, a lot of people lack clarity. So what advice would you give someone who lacks or may need some clarity in their life for who they are, what they want, where they're going, and all of that?
Yeah, we all lack that. So you're not a special snowflake if you lack clarity. The biggest thing I would say with clarity came in my life when a mentor once told me, why do you work so hard? And I gave him all these reasons that I thought were the reasons I worked so hard. And he said that those aren't the reasons. He said, I want to know what your perfect day looks like. From this time you open your eyes in the morning to the time you close your eyes, you have to be able to articulate every step of that day in fine detail. And once you can tell me what your perfect day looks like, then I'll help you get it. So clarity only comes when you know what your final destination is. But when you reach your final destination, realize that your destination just begins again, because you can never arrive. You always got to be pushing that higher. It's called the arrival syndrome. Don't ever arrive, but understand what your destination looks like today by understanding what your perfect day looks like. That, once you have clarity of your perfect day, will fix a lot of those problems.
Yeah. And you got to be careful with, what you really, with getting into with what you really want, because once I tried to do my perfect day and it was like a 18-hour work day. And then I realized that, no, that's actually not what I wanted. So
you wouldn't have known that if you didn't try to plan out your perfect day. And then you modified your perfect day to be what you want your perfect day to really be.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So mindset map motion. So what is one habit that you have right now, man, that is not like putting money in your bank, in your infinite banking system? What is one habit that you have that you think has contributed to your success?
Every morning when I wake up, I drop to my knee and I thank God for the day.
Great. Gratitude. Awesome, man. Measure, mindset map motion, measure. So what do you think about measuring and tracking?
I think it's something that I could do a lot better job on. I have a pretty big team and we do a lot of tracking and measuring. I measure myself on one thing, and that's how many lives I touch. So if I touch enough lives every day, that's my measure. The rest of the finite KPIs and details that my team tracks. But again, I think that's an area that I could certainly improve on, as we all could.
Awesome. Well, yeah. And you never know how many people you touch in reality, because, you touch one, but then that person goes off and touches another 3 lives because of that, impact that you had. And then it keeps on going and it keeps on going. So, God only knows. So, man, that's, mindset, map, motion, measure, money. Most people want money. Well, you got to get those 4 things right first, then you'll get the money. And you shared, like one thing that will help everyone make a lot of money. So I'm grateful for that. And I really love this episode, man. I really had a lot of fun, hearing you teach the infinite banking system. So if people want to know more about you, right, and to your webinar and all of that, to your the 90-minute presentation and all of that, everything about you, where should they go?
I mean, I'm on chrisnaugle.com. It's Naugle is the first stopping point, but I'm on every social media platform. Got hundreds of thousands on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, but YouTube is definitely the one place where I spend the most of my time putting up free content and unbelievable training videos. So make sure that you go to my YouTube, subscribe, and click the little alerts button so that you get all my best stuff, which starts on YouTube and then trickles through all the rest of them. But whatever your fancy is, I'm on them all. And my handle on each one is @the Chris Naugle.
Awesome. Thank you very much, man. I'll definitely go and check out your YouTube video, because, before the interview, you told me you shoot like 40, you spend like 40 hours, creating content every single week. So
I do.
Like, damn. So I'll go ahead and check it out. And thank you very much, man. I'll see you later.
All righty. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you for watching the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend, leave us a comment, and let us know. 99% of people never leave a review or comment, but we love and are very thankful with the 1% of you who do. If there's something or someone you want to see on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram @Alex_Ramirez1020 and let me know. As a thank you for that, I have an amazing surprise for each and every one of you who does take the time to leave us a comment or review on YouTube or one of the major podcasting platforms